Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. This time out, we're taking a look at a new amp simulation pedal from Boss. Let's get started. Today we're looking at the IR-200 from Boss. This is an amp emulator that allows you to load your own impulse responses, has tons of onboard sounds, 128 presets, MIDI control, external foot switch and expression pedal control, an effects loop that can be mono or stereo, and much, much more. Let's take a closer look. The IR-200 is a very advanced pedal. It features two custom DSP processors inside, and it operates at 32-bit floating point for processing with 96 kHz sample rate. The input and output A to D conversion is also 32-bit. Out of the box, the IR-200 comes loaded with 144 Boss impulse responses. Now, impulse responses are basically captures of sounds that you can apply back to your guitar, and they give you a very authentic amplifier response. So we've got 144 of those from Boss, and we've also got 10 of those from Celestion. So a wide range of different impulse responses that we can choose among. Now, we also can load 128 of our own impulse responses, and those can be wave files at either 200 milliseconds or 500 milliseconds. And again, we have that 96 kilohertz sample rate and 32-bit processing inside. To get those impulse responses into the IR-200, it comes with free IR loading software that also allows you to back up all your settings. That runs on Mac and Windows. We've got 8 different guitar amplifier types here, and they range from natural, which is a clean amplifier created by Boss, to high gain amps, to a JC120, to a twin, to British stacks. So we've got a wide range of different amplifier types inside to choose from. We've also got a number of different cabinets. In fact, you can have a cabinet A and a cabinet B, and you can assign microphones to those and adjust all those different parameters to get a very authentic sound. If you're a bass player, we also have 3 bass amp types here. Now, this makes the pedal even more versatile because you can actually use it as an audio interface. So you could be at home using this as your audio interface via USB. You can be recording your guitar parts through the different amplifiers, pick up a bass, record your bass parts. You can record dry parts and reamp through the IR-200. You can use it to play back tracks from your DAW. The USB implementation is very powerful. It becomes even more versatile when we look at some of the functionality. You can actually bypass the amplifier section, so if you want to use an amplifier and run it into an IR in your DAW, you can do that. Or you can bypass the cabinet section, so you could run an external cabinet, and using this basically as your amplifier to drive that cabinet. Of course, you'd need a power amp to do that. You can also bypass the onboard reverb, which we'll look at in just a second. So this allows you to use the IR-200 in a variety of different settings. As I mentioned, it's a great studio tool, but it also works very well in a live situation. We've got other functions that make it very versatile and flexible as well. For example, there's a solo boost function built in that you can engage and disengage with a foot switch. We also have a total of 4 EQs. There are 2 EQs on the cabinet outputs, and then there are 2 global EQs as well that you can use for overall shaping. Now, these are great if you have your presets set up for, say, home, and then you take the IR-200 out and use it in a different location. You can engage those global EQs to reshape everything to fit the venue that you're playing in. As I mentioned, we have reverbs built in. Boss actually refers to them as ambiances. And there are 3 types. There's a room, there's a hall, and there's a studio. And of course, you can assign that per preset, and you have reverb control right here on the front panel. Speaking of the front panel, let's take a tour. So we've got 2 foot switches here. One moves you up through presets, one moves you down through presets, or hitting both bypasses the IR-200. And then you can come right back in as well. Now we have very familiar amplifier controls here. We've got a gain control, we've got an output level or a master volume control, 3-band EQ, bass, mid, and treble. And then we have 3 different parameters that control what's happening with the amplifier. The first chooses our amplifier types. We've got natural engaged right now, which is a neutral, clean sounding amplifier, makes a great basis for building your tones. It also works great as a platform for external drive pedals. So I've got a super overdrive here running into the input. And then back to the natural amp. Now we can change the amp type with this knob. We can go to a JC120. Twin. Diamond, which is a British Class A style amplifier. We've got a Tweed combo. We've got the high gain, which again is a custom Boss amp. There's a ton of gain available there. When we exit that back out, it'll switch back. Now we can choose British stack. We've also got a metal amp. Based on the BGR UB, I'm assuming that's a Bogner Uberschall. Bass amps. So a wide range of basic platforms that we can build off of. Let's go back to that natural amp. Now we can also choose the cabinets. This is cabinet A, so we could set that to 212 with a dynamic 57. We could set it to a 410 Tweed cabinet, a 412. So you have a lot of flexibility for choosing the cabinets, and you can also assign different microphones to the cabinet. So this is a dynamic 57 with a ribbon microphone. This would be a ribbon microphone by itself. A condenser 87. So you can really fine-tune the sound based on what you want to hear from the IR-200. The final control on the front panel as far as shaping our amplifier tone is the reverb control. Here we're set to a hall reverb. And we can turn that off basically, or we can bring it way up. So easy to control that, and we can save all this into user presets and recall them instantly. And you do that using the large knob here. The memory control also serves as a enter button, so you press that to enter and select different parameters as well. Now if we want to dig deeper, push the menu control, and now we can look at a variety of different things here. We've got two cabinets, we've got our send return loop, which we'll look at in just a second. There's our two EQs we were talking about earlier, and here's our ambience control as well. So we can set the type. Here we're on hall, we can go to a room. We can have that be in stereo, dual mono. Set the reverb time. We can also set the tone for the reverb and adjust the level here. We could also choose to edit our amplifier, for example. So we can set the type, the gain, the level, scroll over, we've got our EQ, scroll over, we've got our solo boost that we talked about earlier, so we've got solo level and switching for that as well. And there's also a low gain switch to drop things down. We also have a noise suppressor, and that comes right after the amplifier in the signal path, so we can adjust the threshold and the release for that. If you're dealing with a high gain amplifier, that's a very useful feature. Scrolling over, we've got a send return loop built in. Now that's a mono send and either a mono or stereo return. And I've actually got a board set up here with, we're going out mono into the MD500 modulation, stereo from there to the DD500 delay, stereo from there into the RV500 reverb, and then coming stereo back in to the IR-200. So we can set whether that's on or off. We can also position it either before or after the cabinet in the signal path, and we can set it up to either be a parallel or a series loop depending on the kind of effects that you're using. If we scroll over, we have control over the send level and the return level. And the adjust control is very interesting. If you're working with a series or a parallel loop, sometimes you have phase issues with effects mixing back in, and this actually adjusts that timing so you can correct for those phase issues. We can choose cabinet A, we can choose to link the two cabinets together, our cabinet type with the microphone, stereo or mono out. We can also adjust the timing again for phase issues, set the microphone level, and also mix in our direct as well. Cabinet B has the same functions. Scroll over, we've got two EQs. Those can be either graphic or parametric. And again, we can link those A and B together or not, turn them on and off. Scroll over. We've got high, low gain. In this case, we're set for parametric, so we can adjust the frequency as well as the gain and the bandwidth. You can edit back out. We've got our second EQ and then our ambience controls that we looked at earlier. We also have a lot of control capability with the IR-200. The first two are the down-up, which are these two buttons on the front panel of the IR-200. We can set their function to a variety of different things, on-off for the EQ, amp solo, and so on. Memory increment and decrement is the way that they're set up out of the box, and they work well for that. If we exit back out, select the next function, that's control functions. There's a jack here on the side that's a TRS jack, and that can support either 1 or 2 foot switches, and you assign their functions here, and again, a wide range of different functions can be assigned there. Or you can plug in an expression pedal. As we'll see here, when we scroll over, our expression pedal can have a range of different functions as well. Here it's assigned to amp gain. But we could choose to assign that to amp level. Now the nice thing is that amp level output that's being controlled by the expression pedal is actually pre-effects loop. So if we want to do volume swells, we can do that using the expression pedal. Exit out. We've got system settings here. We can choose to have the expression pedal either be assigned per patch or per system, in which case the expression pedal is always the same no matter what preset you're on. That's very handy. If you're using the expression pedal for different things for different presets, you want to set that per preset. Otherwise, system-wide works very well. We also have USB controls here. There actually are 8 lines that are carried. So you can get the affected guitar signal, you can get the dry guitar signal, you can get loop back coming back in for recording and playback as well. So a lot of versatility using this as an audio interface, and those settings are here under USB. We have 3 different pages of settings. Under Other, we have system settings such as screen contrast. So as you can see, it's very easy to navigate and edit on the IR-200. Now we have versatile connections on the back. We already talked about the effects loop, but let's take a close look at what's going on here. We've got a guitar input, then we've got our effects loop send, that's a mono send, and then we have our effects loop return, and that's mono or stereo. I'm using it in stereo in this case. And then we have our outputs, and those are actually stereo as well. We have 2 MIDI ports. Those are 1/8 inch TRS MIDI ports, and you use an optional adapter cable with those to get full MIDI control over the IR-200, parameters, presets, and so on. Or you can use the IR-200 to control external devices via MIDI as well. Around the side, we have our expression pedal or foot switch input. We have the USB jack. We also have a headphone jack on the side, and we have an aux input. So if you want to play along with tracks, very easy to do with the IR-200. It's an incredibly full-featured box, whether you're using it at home for practicing, taking it in the studio, or taking it on stage. I've really been enjoying spending time with the IR-200. It sounds fantastic. It's super versatile as far as editing the sounds and tailoring them to exactly what you want. Easy to set up, easy to use. I mean, I was having so much fun with it that I actually built this board around it just to play around with, and it turned out to be an incredibly powerful board. With the MD500, DD500, and RV500, I've got all the effects I could possibly need. The IR-200 gives you all the amps. It has its own reverbs and things. And then you can put whatever pedals you want in front as well. It's a sweet system, works great for silent stage application, or I've been using it in the studio too. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the IR-200. It is a sweet amp emulation pedal that offers you tons of different sounds, built-in reverb, that mono stereo effects loop, super easy to use, headphone output, aux input. It really covers everything you need. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click here for more videos like this, or start at sweetwater.com for all your music instrument and pro audio needs.